International lawyer Femi Aino is here. Good morning.
Yes, good
and
morning.
You're welcome
to
TVC Breakfast.
Yes,
what do you make of this twist? Many didn't see it coming, did you?
No, neither do I. But the point is that maybe it's well enough because he discharged himself from the hospital. And that is the issue because, you know, I think there was a disagreement somewhere. The initial intention is that he would love to lodge in a 5-star hotel. And then they said no. And my own concern is that, does that mean that hospital doesn't have a private wing whereby he will have a room to himself, he will be able to have some visitors? That is possible. But the point is that the hospital is in a difficult position because patients have the right to discharge themselves. There's no big deal about that.
And that is standard in every hospital.
That is standard in hospital. And in some hospitals, they have what they call self-discharge policy,
Absolutely.
whereby these doctors must follow. And when the doctors are considering either to detain or let the patient go, there are 2 criteria which they need to take into account. Is the patient an adult? Number 1, is he capable of making a decision?
Mental
yes. Now, the exception now comes in, whereby you can detain them and said, look, you can't go. Because
where will that arise?
That will arise. Those are the exceptions. Whereby, number 1, that patient is going to be a risk to himself or herself. That is 1. And number 2, health-wise, because don't forget, it may well be some of them have undergone a serious chemotherapy, and then they said, oh, I'm going home now.
So their
by the time they go out, then there will be a problem.
Okay.
Then there is certain situation whereby that patient has a mental disorder, and they cannot take a decision, in which case you have to detain them in the hospital. And then the 3rd point is that whether it is in the interest of that patient to remain in the hospital so that the treatment can just continue. So, or in the worst scenario, you apply to the court to detain them.
In this case now, it appears that the Sheikh must have fulfilled it, or they felt he was sound enough to have made that decision.
Exactly.
And he's not a risk.
Yes, it's not a risk to himself, and then he's well enough to take, he's mentally sound enough to take a decision about his well-being.
But yeah, this is a sick man, and it's going by the reports that the medical report, at least 6 to 7 doctors, and we believe that those reports were what guided the judge against the will of the government in granting him. So what happens? Was there a deceit somewhere?
No,
or is he like taking his chances even though he...
Even if you look at the video, you will see it looks well. That's 1. And number 2 is that there's something you need to appreciate. Some of this, even if the police arrest clients, where I have been and where I come from, the moment they lock them in the cell, then they start saying, look, my blood pressure is high, I'm having this, I'm having that. That's one possibility. And then you get a situation whereby the client or the person is malingering, just pretending to be sick because they don't want to face the consequence of their action. Okay. You do get such a situation. But in this case, this is a man, we don't know what he's suffering from that cannot be treated in Nigeria. We don't know why those doctors cannot come to Nigeria and treat.
So what happens now? Do we go back to the courts?
No, what happens now? It's even lucky to have a benevolent judge, because if I'm the judge, number 1, you are in breach of your bail condition. Because the bail condition,
the court was adjourned, the case was adjourned.
The case was adjourned so that you can undergo medical treatment.
Right, so
and for you to discharge yourself and return back to Nigeria, it is either you are well enough, or the alternative is that you can receive the treatment locally. And now you can face the consequence of your action, because there is a criminal trial, which is still ongoing. Then it is in his interest, if he can discharge himself, I think it is in his interest too to take a decision that, look, let me face this matter so that I can put it behind.
Right, joining me now to discuss this is lawyer Femi Aino to give us insight into the implication of all of this. Femi, it's good to have you join me this morning.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, it is no longer news that all the controversy surrounding ZakZaky traveling to India, and now we hear he's on his way back.
Yes.
We'd like to know, because he has a case in court.
Yes.
What will be the implication now? Because the grounds to which they were agitations for his, they release him, was on the ground of health.
It's medical.
Now he traveled to India.
Yes.
He has not been treated from the reports we got. He's back to Nigeria.
Yes.
How will this impact his case going forward?
No.
Will there still be an excuse of health issues concerning this?
Well, let's get it right.
Okay.
The court, it was granted medical leave. That's it. Now, he's back. It's on his way back to the country. So you've had your medical leave. It's not for the court to be asking you, did you get Panadol when you were there? Did they serve you tikka masala or whatever? That's not for the judge. It is what is before the court is the criminal case, and that's it. I've granted you medical leave. You've exercised that right. It's not for me to be fishing around and be finding out whether they did this or they didn't do that. However, it's not impossible for him to come up with another application that, look, I'll be going to Singapore now in order to receive medical treatment. And there will be arguments here and there that, look, the court doesn't serve sherry, so you can't have a second bite of the sherry. We've given you that opportunity. For one reason or the other, there has been an issue with that. Look for that medical treatment here. Because number one, the court is under a duty to make sure that matters are dealt with in a very punctilious manner. All this merry-go-around, how long is it going to continue? The witnesses are waiting, who are going to give evidence. Their memory will fade away if this matter is not dealt with in a very punctilious way. And that's the way to go now.
All right, but the fact, apart from the fact that, okay, he has been granted, he was granted medical permission to go on medical and all of that, there was no time frame attached to all of these.
Yes.
Good. So in that window, since we also know that there hasn't been any certification from India that, okay, he has been treated. So the fact remains that he still has not been treated. He still has his medical challenges or his health challenges.
But at the end of the day, yes. I do take your point, but do take my point that, look, if you are not well enough, you will stay in India and receive the medical treatment. If you have issue with the hospital, what a sick person will do is to look for another hospital so that the treatment can continue. But somebody who is well enough will either discharge himself or return home. And in any event, you know, the whole thing is not out of the window yet. Number one, you can still receive. Why can't even, what's he suffering from it in the first instance? We're in the dark to know the nature of the illness. Number two, don't we have enough doctors in this country who can treat this man? Then number three, then bring all those doctors. They can come to Nigeria and treat you here. So there are so many options on the table. But the issue now is this. It is not impossible, because if you look at the video, it even looks well on the face of it. But it's not impossible for him to have received adequate treatment on his way to India. Okay. And that's why he now decided that, look, I'm not happy with what is going on. And don't forget, you are granted medical leave. The court did not grant you holiday to go and enjoy yourself in a five-star hotel. And then when people go into hospital is not an hotel. You are there to receive treatment. There might be arguments between you and your doctors and what have you, which is not even inevitable. But the point is this: if you care about your well-being, you will look for another hospital. But for now, you can't just come here. And the good thing about this man, which I'm happy about, is that he's coming back to Nigeria, because we have to be very careful. If he has applied for a political asylum in that country saying Nigeria is persecuting me, there's going to be a lot of issues there.
That would throw another issue.
Another issue.
And those were the fears of Kaduna State government in the first place and all of that. But we have to leave it here now, Femi. I know. Thank you very much for giving us insight into this.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
Let's get the views of international lawyer now, Femi. I know. Good morning. Welcome to TVC Breakfast.
Yes, thank you.
Talking about this twist now, there are several analogies right now, you know, that we are faced with. First, the IMN said they wanted him back, or he came back because he had no choice. Now, reports are trickling in saying the federal government is said to have had concrete evidence that El-ZakZaky couple had, you know, hired a team, an Indian lawyers team now to find a way to keep him in India without returning. If that is true, was the federal government indeed justified that they reportedly made him travel back?
Yes, I think they are justified. And one must give them credit, especially in a country whereby, you know, there are allegations here and there. But the most important is this. This is a man that has a criminal case, which is still ongoing. Definitely, the government is under a duty to make sure he clears himself of those criminal allegations one way or the other. and they are also under a duty to make sure there's no escape route for him. And the problem we have here is this. If you are truly sick, let's just put it there. I know the judge must have seen some evidence one way or the other. Then why don't you just wait there and receive the treatment? But now that he's coming back, it's a good opportunity for him to face the case at hand, and that's the way to go.
Tell us about the options now for the federal government, even for the accused.
The options.
Right.
There's so many. Well, for the federal government, the first option is to get him before that court so that he can face the charge against him. That's one. And for the accused himself, it's in his interest to enter the witness box and clear himself of this weighty
and can claim himself
of the allegations. And if he stays sick, then he can look for medical treatment within Nigeria, or in the alternative, maybe we make another application that I want to go to Germany to receive the treatment. But there will still be an issue that, look, there's no second bite of the cherry here. You've had the opportunity for one reason or the other.
So it's not likely that he would want to take another chance. Now we hear he was actually preferring, he said he would have preferred Malaysia, Turkey, or some other hospitals.
Why didn't you do that in the first instance?
Initially.
Why did you not do that in the first instance?
This issue of my right to my personal doctors, the line that El-ZakZaky has, been pulling since this trip to India, how justifiable is it that the doctors that you saw, quote and unquote, are not the doctors you are seeing now?
Well, those are matter for him. It's not a matter we should bother ourselves. If you want your private doctor, you have the option. If you want a different doctor to treatment, a different course of treatment, that option is so there are a lot in the menu here. But the point is this. If you are truly sick and you care about your well-being, what you will do is either you ask your personal doctor to liaise with all these Indian doctors, and then they can fashion out a course of treatment for you. What you will not do is just to discharge yourself from the hospital, and that is the issue.
All right, let me come in
yeah,
here, Sami. The point there is a lot of Nigerians are still concerned because since he returned without being treated, the question of his ill health may still be on the front burner. When it comes to his followers,
yes,
what scenario do you see when his health continues to deteriorate, yes, and then there's still going to be agitation, yes, on the streets, yes, to release their leader for another treatment?
Yes, so those, well, no doubt his followers will come out definitely and start protesting here and there. But the point is that this is a man who has had the opportunity to treat himself, and this is a man who has failed to abide by that opportunity. And the point is this: what is the nature of the illness? We don't even know what he's suffering from that can be treated in Nigeria here. And also, what's going to happen now, point blank, is that, look, this going up and down, we need to put a stop to that. Get those, whether you want a doctor from Malaysia, Germany, or wherever, let them come to Nigeria and treat you. You have the money. What we cannot do is to let you go there. When you get to Malaysia, then there will be another disagreement. You will discharge yourself. Then you come back and say, look, I want to go to Germany. Look, you can't just keep doing that. What you need to do, there's a criminal case against you, and it is in the interest of the state that you clear yourself of that allegation. And also, one important thing, I think the onus is on his followers to encourage their leaders that, look, let's put this behind us. There are a lot of issues we have in Nigeria. This is going up and down, and that has to stop.
And then remove the veil from looking at international politics that we saw play out, yes, in India. There was also the possible involvement of the American nation, now going by what the IMN leader had alleged initially. But looking at India's tough stance, the Nigerian factor, and the U.S. Tell us about, the goings-on.
You see, the point is this: he made this weighty allegation that there is an interference from the American embassy in India. Why not the American embassy in Nigeria to start with? And secondly, what is the nature of the interference? Are they saying doctors must not treat you? Or are they saying doctor must give you a specific medication? And you have your own private doctor who can say, look, this is good, this is not good. You see, sometimes maybe, honestly to me, I think it's coming up with some convenient excuse here and say there's an interference, this and that. I'm not disputing the fact that there might be a lot of diplomatic hoo-hoo going on behind the scene. We all know that. But the issue is this. You are discharging yourself. You are even discharging your wife. What is going on here? The two of you suffering from the same medical problem. Okay, if you have problem with the doctors and there is interference from the American embassy, what happened to your wife? Do you see, if you look at it, I think honestly, it's either you are malingering or you don't even care about your own health, or you just want to find a way to get out of the weighty allegation,
or maybe the case is not as serious as
you try to put it. So let's wait. Time will tell.
Thank you very much, international lawyer Femi Aino, for joining us right now. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you.